Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Gratitude Happy Hour. We're so honored to be able to bring this every week here at Enlightened World Network. And thank you to all who are joining in. And please share this when you come on live. Just share it out so that other people can be blessed by what they're going to hear today, because I have a very exciting guest that's joining me, and we're going to just have a conversation together. It's our first time talking, so this will be exciting. You all get to see us getting to know each other. So I have I know, Dr. Karen Perkins, and I'm so excited to have you today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and all of you wonderful audience guests. I'm in my car because I had the opportunity to have some car issues, and I am grateful that my car is fine and I am fine, but I am not in my office where I normally would do these interviews. So I am in front of a car concepts place that also puts in a large stereo system. So if you hear that bass booming, you know that that's not me.
Okay, well, we'll just sing along with it if it's a good song.
There you go. There you go.
I like happy.
Hey, it's one of those subwoofers.
Your sound just went out. Or is it my sound that went out? Hang on a sec.
Oh, I can hear you. You cannot
hear me.
It
might have been my sound that went out. So let me just do this. Okay. So I've got sound. Can you hear me?
It shows that I have sound.
There you are. Now you're back.
Oh, there you go. It was just
glitched there for a moment. But yeah, I hear you just fine now.
Oh, good, good.
Technology.
If I put the phone down somewhere else, it would be. Let's see if we can.
I think it was on my end, Karen.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it was just my headset.
Over here, and I'll just sit kind of comfortable and crooked. How's that?
There you go. We want you comfortable.
But seatbelt still on.
Yeah, safety first.
But, and you talk about gratitude. Think about all of the wonderful things that we have in today's society. And I know people whine and groan about their seatbelts, but how many lives have been saved? And somebody's going to say, oh, but I know one person who wasn't because they had it on. But statistically, overwhelmingly, all of the lives, and the fact that I have a car and you have a car and anybody has a car, I don't have to walk or take a horse and buggy cross country.
Right.
I can go grocery shopping and not take 2 days. Unless I spend that long in the store because,
But, I loved the way you put your sentence when you said you had the opportunity to have car problems. And how many of us, when we have something come up challenging, just immediately go to that negativity? And it's like, oh my God, this is awful. What just happened? Instead of the way that we can look at it as, okay, this is just another thing that happened and I have a chance to turn it into something positive.
Well, if you can change it, change it. If you can't, whining about it isn't going to make it any better. No. I laugh about car stuff because I think this is my last one for the year. I was on my way to Phoenix in March, and my transmission blew up in between Vegas and, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of that place now. Okay, it doesn't matter. But anyway, halfway between Vegas and the first big city in Arizona, Kingsman. I knew it had a name.
Right.
And there was nothing for miles and miles. And it was one of those, they finally ended up telling me, that's a whole nother story in itself, ended up costing more money than it was supposed to because AAA towed me an extra mile and then to a wrong place. They towed me to a Napa auto parts store at 1 a.m. It's like, okay.
That was
anyway, long story shorter, I ended up paying $5,000 to get my car fixed. Phoenix announced that they were going to lock everything down because of COVID, and my grandson and I needed to get back up to Salt Lake City, Utah. So we started up, and GPS kept taking me the wrong way. And I finally gave up and said, fine, I'll follow GPS. And again, at about 1 a.m, a deer decided to run out in front of me and smash the front end of my car. And honest to goodness, the first thing and it was a big buck. I mean, I've gone deer hunting and it was a huge buck. I turned to my grandson. I said, oh no, I just hit a deer. I hope it's okay. And then I noticed that the engine was steamy. I said, crap. He pushed the radiator into the engine. And my grandson just bursted out laughing. He said, Nana, you're the only one I know that would be more concerned about that poor deer's life than the fact that you know it just smashed your car up and you just paid $5,000 to get it fixed. And I'm like, it is what it is. And more people get freaked out that I go, the deer's already been hit. I can't rewind time.
Right. Yeah.
I can't rewind time, and I can sit here and freak out, but it doesn't help. And I do have, thank goodness, AAA and good insurance and stuff. But the good thing was, though, is it ended up totaling my car, and I got the Infinity I was wanting to get anyway. So see how good everything always works out?
Hidden blessings, everything is always working out perfectly. I have a friend that says that and she's just really drove that into my head. Everything is working perfectly. It may not look perfect at the moment that's happening. You're sitting there with a total car, but just look at what happened. You got the one that you wanted to manifest.
I got the one I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mom would always say, it'll all be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end.
I like that.
Like, yeah, I can see that. That's true.
Sounds like a wise woman.
She has a lot of them. My favorite, though, is you can't get hit in the face with a tomato unless your head's above the crowd. So anybody in your audience that feels like they're being persecuted and being slammed in the face with tomatoes, guess what? That means you're better than other people because your head's sticking above the crowd.
Yeah,
so when I go on stage, my first thought is, I hope I get hit with tomatoes.
Oh, free dinner.
Yeah, free dinner. Of course, not specifically and not technically, but
Yeah.
metaphorically.
I love that. So Karen, you are out west. Is that where you live in Utah?
I live at the Marriott, and since COVID, I have been out west. We used to travel 100% with our work. So right now we're kind of hanging out with some of my kids in Utah. So yeah.
Okay. All right. And just share what you do. Tell everybody this beautiful experience of life that you're having.
I have got the best life in the whole wide world. I do a multitude of things, but really focus in on a couple that I really love. But when you get my age, you have a lot of experience. That's the good thing about getting older. But I do public speaking, motivational speaking on programming and on basically your thoughts and your emotions. And I was recently, I'm still in it, but recently released movie, How Thoughts Become Things. It's got a lot of the same cast members from The Secret. They're from 2006. And we talk about the thoughts, and people say, I can't control my emotions. And I go, your thoughts flow through the amygdala, a little tiny pinhead size thing here in the front of your brain. The amygdala assigns the thought its physical reaction and its emotion. What most people don't stop to realize is that emotions have the exact same physical reaction differently because of our view of it. They get stage fright. What happens when you go to get on stage?
Okay, your sound is sticking a little bit.
palm sweater. I can't get better internet. Bring it back up here. I think what I'll do is I'll leave the meeting and come back in and see if that works better.
Yeah, because it was sticking and dragging out. So let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. So anybody that's watching, this is an amazing woman. She has really developed a lot of the skills that we need and teaches those skills to others and how to deal with your emotions. And I am just sitting here just in awe, just listening, because I feel like there's so much knowledge that she has to share with us. You know, when we encounter things like what she was explaining, like a car being totaled, hitting an animal, the things that she went through, it's like, how do we deal with those? The emotional impact of after something traumatic happens. So that's why I'm so excited to hear what she has to say. And I am just setting that intention that the internet is going to work perfectly and we'll able to have this beautiful discussion with Karen. Okay, so you're muted.
There, if I unmute me, maybe you can hear me.
Yay! So I'm really excited to hear what you have to share with us. So I'm going to set the intention that the internet is going to work perfectly and we'll be able to have this wonderful discussion.
I'm trying to angle my phone so that it gets the most bars. There you go. It also means though that you're going to see just my teeth and chin.
I see your beautiful face. You're awesome.
There you go. Anyway, opposite emotions, I was saying, have the same physical reaction. So if you're scared, you know, like going on stage, throat tightens, your stomach gets knots, your heart pounds. But if you're really, really excited about
yeah, it's dragging.
Your throat gets kind of excited and tightens and your heart palpitates and you get butterflies in your stomach and your hands get a little emotions. And so when you start to feel the heart palpitating in the stomach, instead of going, oh my gosh, I'm scared, it's going to be, hey, I'm excited for this new opportunity. And it changes the neuropeptide. The neuropeptides are what divide, and if you've got negative thoughts going, because all those negative cells would have Are you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah, you're like freezing up every so often. So I was just waiting to see if it was going to straighten up.
Now, I'm done for now.
Okay, it's kind of like a freeze frame. So I'm not getting everything that you're saying. Can you still hear me, Karen? Okay, bear with us, people. We're having technical difficulties this afternoon, and I'm just setting the intention that it is going to come back, and we'll be able to hear Karen as she shares with us. Yeah, hi, Catherine and Chetta and Prachetta. Okay, so we'll try it again and see if this time that the internet will be more stable when she comes back in with us. Oh, so I wanted to have this conversation. So I'm really hoping that this is going to straighten up and get her back in here so we can hear some of her wisdom. Because what we've heard just in a few minutes of her being on has been so amazing. So let's see. Hi, Karen.
Hey, can you hear me now?
I do hear you.
But can you see me? Because I show that I'm still waiting for the host to let me in.
Okay. Let's see.
There, I see me. I'm
Okay,
sure I'll see you real soon.
I don't see you yet.
This is connecting still. Give me one more second. I am so sorry about this. See how
Oh,
fun this is though we get to experience the technology of the world.
I know.
And we get to, thank goodness we have things like Wi-Fi and cell phones, and we can even pretend we're doing this. All right,
Right.
now this should have let me in.
It says that you're joining.
Next.
Oh, so to our audience, thank you for being patient and hanging in there with us. You're not going to be disappointed, I assure you.
Well, I'll tell you what, we can talk without you seeing me. That is just fine. It's kind of one of those technology things, and I'm always grateful that we have technology, even if it's not going to work. And they know what I look like, and your beautiful face is something wonderful for them to see anyway.
Oh, you're so sweet. But I love where this conversation is going, and I want to hear more about what you were explaining about when we're having the opposite emotions and how that happens inside of us. So can we talk more about that?
Yeah. The opposite emotions, well, all of us, we have emotions, period. Men,
Right.
women, children, and people often think that, logic can't be emotional. And I'm here to tell you that there is logic behind emotion, and I'm getting out of my car for a second and changing to the other seat because my husband's going to drive.
Okay.
But so you can hear the other noise. There you go. There's logic behind emotions and emotions behind logic. And, there you can see me now. And people need to accept that there is that logic behind emotions, and that it's a good thing to have. And it's one of those things that in life, if we can acknowledge and accept we're having an emotion, we can then process it, and then we can utilize it to our benefit. And so utilizing it to our benefit comes down to understanding what emotion am I really having, and sometimes just tricking your subconscious into the opposite emotion because of the physical reaction. And, tricking your mind, do you really want to do that? Well, yeah, absolutely. Because our subconscious mind is going out there and just making these determinations off of what it thinks from the programming it was fed. And so changing your mind is just reprogramming it to the positive. And with emotions, I say there's the rap poo. And you got to recognize, you know what, I'm having an emotion. Right now I'm emotional. And then acknowledge what emotion you're having. Okay, once you've acknowledged it, go ahead and acknowledge, accept it, say, yep, that's the emotion. And if you've got that choice between two of them, really stop and think, which one am I really having? And once you've done that, feel the emotion. And by feeling it fully, I mean, if you need to go and please don't kick the cat or the dog or anyone else. But if you need to go and scream and yell and cry, and do it. Just don't get stuck there, because it's when you get stuck there that you create havoc for your life and for the lives of others around you. And then once you felt it fully, now you're in a position to process. Okay, did I like the way I felt? No. Well, then what was I thinking at the time? Don't go there again. When I start to think that, you say, nope, I'm not going there, and change your thoughts. And I'll tell you a little instance about that in a second. If it's, yeah, I really like how I was feeling. I mean, you're excited, feel excited fully. Don't downplay it because you're supposed to be humble or whatever. Feel it, be excited. But did I like the way I felt? Yes. Well, what was I thinking and doing at that time? Well, then continue doing it. And this brings us to the last step. When you're processing it, it's the use or diffuse. If it's something that is going to be beneficial to you and to others, and I said and, not or, if it's going to be beneficial to you and to others, use it. If it's not beneficial to you, diffuse it. And that just means now you're aware of it, and when those thoughts and emotions start to come up, you say, do I need to remove myself from the situation? Do I need to think a little bit differently? What is it that you need to do? I call these mind shifts. And a fun example of a mind shift is, well, I had one, and I don't know that I would have had it had I not been how did not happen so fast? So I'm driving down the freeway one day, and I know we've all done that. It's not us driving, somebody else. And I needed to change lanes, so I looked in the rearview mirror, I looked in the side mirrors, looked over my shoulder. All was clear, and I went to change lanes, and sure enough, there was somebody who had been in my blind spot, and they honk and they wave with one finger. And I was so embarrassed. And I'm waving back with all of my fingers and thumb, going, I'm sorry. Well, if they hadn't, it was one of those, I was mortified. But about, 30 seconds to a minute later, some moron cut me off. And as I'm driving, going, idiot, moron, who taught you how to drive? I'll bet they're as embarrassed as I just was. So now when people cut me off or start to pull in, I slow down and let them in. And I'm calmer when I get places, and I'm happier when I get places. I don't feel like the world's out to get me. And because I'm calmer, because of just that one change in thought, oh, how embarrassing. Because I'm calmer, I don't have as many near misses. I can see what's coming because my mind is not, I'm going to get attacked. My mind is, oh, it's a wonderful world. Oh, that guy's going to change lanes. Okay. And if I think they did it on purpose, I still say, oh, how embarrassing to be them. Because, they're only going to be a car or two ahead of you on the off-ramp.
Right. That's true.
So it's that mental mind shift that you can do to change your whole outlook on life and the way that you do things. And not everything is good. Some really, really crappy stuff happens to people. And it's okay to have a heavy heart, but the choice to be happy is always yours.
Always. I love this. And so what you're saying is acknowledge those feelings. Don't just dismiss them, but acknowledge them. And I have a friend that says, accept, align, and allow. And so it sounds exactly like what you're describing. Accept the situation, align to who you are, stay true to you, and then allow that situation that happened.
Yeah. And really when it comes down to it, if something's annoying you, if it's a problem, it's your problem. It's nobody else's. Because if it doesn't impact you, it's not a problem for you. If it impacts me and I find it as a problem, then it's my problem. And I have to ask myself, am I willing to communicate to resolve this problem? Am I willing to just put up and shut up? Just say, okay, I'll put up with it. Or is it a problem I need to remove myself from? And sometimes we just have to remove ourselves from the situation in order to get rid of that problem. But we always have the three choices. Do something about it, actually two choices, doing something about it or letting it go. And doing something about it is communicating or removing yourself.
Yeah, I love that. The communication is so crucial, and it's where many of us have that problem. You know, maybe not even knowing how to start, how to begin. If there's something that I know with me, I used to get so overly emotional if I had any type of confrontation. And it was like, oh, I can't get into that. You know, I can't deal with that. So I would just shut it down.
You would love my home study set, Living First Class, because we go over all of these things in there and have it set up as a study system. But it's in knowing how to start communicating, knowing their personality styles, knowing your emotions versus somebody else's, and acknowledging it, and getting past that fear. And honestly, fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
If it's real, it's a fact. And if it's a fact, you learn how to take care of it. You put it up, shut up, deal with it, communicate, whatever. But if it's a fact, you take care of the actions necessary. If it's a fear, it typically paralyzes you for no reason. It's false evidence. And it's false evidence appearing real. And so you have to study, get to know more about it. And once you study and get to know more about it, now you can decide, is this real or not real? If it's real and it's a fact, then great. Let's deal with it. If it's not real and it's not a fact, why am I letting it put me in a state of paralysis?
I love that, because I think that's what holds us back from having that interchange with others. You know, it's like we go to that immediate worst possible scenario instead of stepping away for a moment and asking those questions that you just said. Is it real? You know, it's what I'm afraid of based on reality.
Yeah, it's yes. And I tell a story often, but I told it in the movie about spiders many years ago. I was the director of Utah State Parks and Recreation's Reservation Call Center. Yeah, no room for my name on that business card. But because of that, I had the opportunity to go camping in all of the state parks to gather the information for my sales reps to use on the phone calls as they're booking the campsites. And you know what? When you go camping, there's a lot of freaking spiders. And I had this overwhelming fear of spiders. I mean, I used to say, if you were going to throw me in a pit of cobra snakes or daddy long legs, give me the snakes, because I'd rather die of venom than fear. But I realized if I'm going to have to go camp at every one of these state parks, I got to do something about that fear. And so I started studying spiders, and I'll tell you what, I have gained such a healthy respect for spiders. I now know which ones can kill you, and I know how to take care of it. I know where they reside and how to avoid them, and if I can avoid them, how to kill them. And yes, people who don't kill animals, I do kill spiders. If they're in my abode, if I'm in theirs, another thing. But if they're in mine, yes, they're dead. But the spiders are actually quite beautiful, and they weave those webs. And if you look at that, they have got the engineering skills and the artistic skills, and really the architect behind these webs is stunning. And I still have a healthy fear of the ones that can kill me, but I'm not afraid of spiders anymore. And it came down to really getting to know them and finding out that being afraid of all of these other kinds of spiders was false evidence. And the ones that I should be afraid of, okay, how do I take care of them or avoid them?
Right. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I have never had that fear of spiders. I do have a fear of other things like snakes, but I've always admired the spiders and I've always said thank you. Every time I see a spider, I say thank you because they do eat the insects and they do keep, mosquitoes
Oh,
away. So
their
I'm
value is immeasurable. I mean, if without spiders, we'd be overgrown with all kinds of horrible stuff. So, yeah, they're actually quite useful. And that sounds kind of, blasé, but they're very useful and very productive members of society.
They are, but I appreciate the story, being in that fear and then just examining it. And I think if we can just step away from a situation, whether it's a fearful situation or one that's just unpleasant, we can always look at it as an observer. And to
Yeah.
me, that's a superpower to be able to do that.
Well, and as that observer, you can find more gratitude than you can. You can't find gratitude when you're stuck in a state of unnecessary fear. If I'm afraid because I should be, I have gratitude that I know the situation's dangerous. If if I am in another situation and I can step back from that fear and say, okay, it's false evidence. What's the reality? I'm grateful that I can do that. And I'm grateful that I can reason out the reality. And I'm grateful often for the situation I'm in because of the lessons that I'll learn from it, be it for me or maybe something I can help someone else with down the road.
I lost your sound there for a minute.
It's spots on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, there are many.
We have internet connection. We have phone connection. It may be spotty, but at least we have it, right? I don't have to send you a letter by Pony Express.
I'm grateful for that. Oh, this is amazing. I am so happy that we were able to get the connection to where we could hear you and see your beautiful face. And I'm just so excited that our audience is getting this kind of help. It is helpful to receive an information and maybe we've heard some of this before. Maybe we've had somebody say, similar things, but it always helps when you hear a personal story. And, like people are not going to forget the story of you hitting the deer and how you can just step away and react to that in a way that's compassionate and not thinking about a material thing, but thinking about a living thing first. Things like that we don't normally even go to when we're thinking about the tragedies and the traumas of life. We're just so wrapped up in the trauma.
It's practicing having an attitude of gratitude. And my husband hates that specific type of saying because it's like a little rhyme and begins to not mean things, but it really does. If you choose to be grateful and truly choose to be grateful, and you're not going to necessarily be grateful for everything in your life that happens, but if you choose to be grateful, then what will happen is that when bad things happen, you'll be in a position to deal with that bad thing in a healthy way and in a more productive way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was challenged 110 years ago because I am 120. I was challenged many years ago to write down 10 things I was grateful for every day. And I'll be honest with you, I started out and went, I am grateful. I couldn't think of anything. And my husband at the time said, well, are you grateful you can breathe? And quite honestly, I wasn't really sure I was. And for the first several weeks, all I could say I was grateful for were bodily functions because I couldn't think of anything else to even put in there. Now, to stop at 10, it's like, only 10? I mean, I just spit them out. And if it's all right with you, I'd like to share a story where practice gratitude saved me.
Yes.
And it really, I think it saved somebody else.
Absolutely. Please do.
Well, all of us have a day where we don't want to be grateful. We wake up on the wrong side of the bed and we're enjoying being ornery. And everybody that goes through that, they may not admit it. But every once in a while, there's that day where it's like, by darn, I've earned it. I'm going to just be ornery. Mm-hmm. Well, I was having one of those days, and I wasn't coaching that day. I was out doing motivational speaking. And, of course, my topic was on positive attitude, so I pretended, but I was really grumpy. Then I got to the hotel. Somebody had spilled milk on the carpet the night before. My boxes weren't there to set up. The people who were supposed to be my helpers didn't show up. It was everything that could go wrong went wrong, and I was grumpy. But I thought, I'm going to be grumpy. I burned it, but I'll smile and pretend to the group. I smiled and pretended, and I was just about done. It was just that home stretch when a guy came in from the hotel with his cell phone saying, at the time my name was Marzo, much better name now with my new husband, Perkins. Love you, honey. But they said, Mrs. Marzo, we have an emergency call for you, and I will forever be ashamed at my reaction, because my first thought was, somebody better be dead or dying, or I'm going to kill them for interrupting my important training session. How's that for a horrible thought? And make it worse is I got on the phone and I heard, Ms. Marzo, your son is being rushed to the hospital. He attempted suicide. And I'll never forget everything going silent. All I could hear was the clock ticking and the pungent smell of that spoiled milk and just the wind being knocked right out of me. Mm-hmm. But from years and years of practice, without me doing it intentionally, my mind kicked into the attitude of gratitude. And, what can I be grateful for? My son just attempted suicide and is still in danger. Well, I was grateful he didn't succeed. I was grateful that he got caught in time and they were rushing him to the ER. I was grateful that we have a leading hospital that knows how to deal with these kinds of situations, emotionally as well as physically. I'm grateful that I have a friend who had gone through the same situation, not that she went through it, but that I knew she would understand and I'd have somebody that could help walk me through it. I was grateful I had 5 hours until my next flight because I knew after that night it would be a couple of weeks before they'd let me physically see him again. I was grateful I was going to be on the road for the rest of the week so I could focus on something else instead of just pacing, panicking. I mean, all those gratitudes just came rushing in. And, what if he'd been successful? Well, I'd have been grateful he's no longer in pain. I'd have been grateful that I had family and friends that would help support me. I mean, it'd have been harder to find the gratitudes. It was a horrible, horrible situation, but by having those gratitudes kick in, it saved me, but it saved him because I was the only one that got to the hospital and had been able to remove myself from the situation and focus solely on him. He didn't see that look in my eyes of, oh, how could you do this to me? Or why didn't I know? And he didn't have to explain anything. He saw me, and all he saw was somebody who purely loved him and was there 100% for him and wasn't concerned in the least bit about myself and how this was going to impact me. And months later, he wrote an ode to Mother for Mother's Day and went through how I had helped him while he was in the psych ward for about 3 months, and how I had him quote to me every day things he was grateful for. And like me, it started out as bodily functions. And, he got those gratitudes and all of these things that I knew and had been teaching people around the world. Here is my son, and I hadn't taken time to teach him. Now, what's the gratitude in that? Well, the gratitude is I now know that I wasn't doing that, and everyone I know has the benefit of knowing that here's the things that I know and I do, and I am there if you need a resource. And my actual kids and grandkids, I make sure I teach them these things. But it comes back down to that gratitude. He didn't give up on surviving because somebody cared for him specifically instead of cared about what he had done and how it was going to affect them.
And you were non-judgmental.
None, no judgment whatsoever. And, you know, I'd like to say it's because I'm all that in a bowl of jelly beans, but it really came down to being practiced at having an attitude of gratitude, even on days where I choose to be ornery. And being ornery that day was a choice. You know, it always is a choice.
Yes. Yeah. We make it the way we want it. If we get up and we decide it's going to be a prison that day, then that's what we're going to experience. But if it's going to be a playground, then, you know, the world is wide open and we can go swing on the swing set. So I so appreciate you sharing that story with us and showing the real power of gratitude. It changes us. It's so life-changing. I've seen it in my own life, and I really appreciate the story, how it has changed your life as well.
Well, and, you know, finding out not all is sunshine and roses.
No.
But looking back now, oh gosh, I guess it's been about 10, 11 years. Looking back, he's helped many people who are in that state get beyond it and not go as far as he had gotten. You know, would I want to go through it again? Oh, please, heavens, no. But he turned it, he used those emotions as a benefit, and he used them to help make the world a better place. And no matter how tough things get for us, if we can remember, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Even when we can't find the tunnel, there will be one. And the light is not a train coming at us. But the mere fact that it's a tunnel insinuates it has two ends, two openings. And if we can hold on till we find the tunnel and then have the courage to go ahead and walk into it, we will come out into the sunshine and light, and things will be much, much better, and they'll be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like he turned his wounds into wisdom. And I'm so happy to hear that he is experiencing now how to use that happening in his life. You know, we all have things that we go through. I call them the fires of life. And it's not so pleasant when we're going through them, but on that other side, like you were saying, when you come out of that tunnel, you can have a lot more wisdom and a lot more knowledge from the experience you've been through. You have knowledge that can't be taught to you.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean I go out and search for that knowledge in that way.
Right.
You don't go out and say, hey, look at trouble. Let me see what kind of bad situation I can get in to learn. But exactly. When they happen, go ahead, swear and cuss, kick the tree stump, and feel the emotion fully. But then once you felt it fully, begin to process it and use it to your benefit or defuse it and put it in its proper place.
Absolutely. I love this. I love your outlook. I love everything that you're doing in the world, how you are bringing that knowledge to other people, that we have choices. And a lot of times we don't think we do when we're stuck, when we're in that whatever it is that we're going through, whatever fire, we don't feel like we have choices, but we always do.
Yeah, it is. Everything is a choice. And it doesn't mean we don't have a heavy heart. It doesn't mean that everything is perfect. But it's like, well, Dr. Viktor Frankl. He was in the concentration camps, in the camp where they did experiments on the human reproductive system. Mm-hmm. And he looked around one day, and he realized there were two types of people in the camp. There were those that were happy and were sharing their food with others and had life. And then there were those that were victims and had no hope and had no life. And it was those with no hope and no life, the victims that were dying left and right. The ones who chose to not let it control them lived. And he decided that day he was going to live and not give up. And if he died, it would be because they physically killed him, but not because he gave up. And that he would help millions in the world. Well, Dr. Viktor Frankl grew up and he wrote, you know, The Last of the Human Freedoms, and I believe it was Man's Search for Happiness, but it might have been a different title, and that was somebody else that wrote that book. But he wrote many, many, many books on the last of the human freedoms, and that's our thought process. Mm-hmm. And he said, they can torture me, they can make me bleed, they can cut parts of my body, they can cut parts off, but they cannot control my mind and my thoughts. Those are controlled solely by me. And I think that's a good lesson for us all to learn. Yes. He was in pain. He was in a whole horrible place. He never denied it was horrible. It was hideously horrible. Mm-hmm. And he just said, that is horrible, but I choose to find my happiness in other things. And his happiness was in sharing part of his bread with somebody else. His happiness was sitting with somebody else and talking or playing a game with rocks drying on the cement floor or something of that nature. And I think what happens, and I get there too, is we get caught in that, oh, woe is me, because something is ugly right now, that we can't get past that and realize that we can choose to be happy even through an ugly situation. It doesn't mean we have to like the ugly situation. It just means we don't let that situation determine who or what we are.
I love that. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing those words. Because when we go into that victimhood, we're looking on the outside. We're looking at, oh, look at what's happening to me. And we have choices in seeing what's happening as happening to us, or it's happening. Yeah. It doesn't have to be happening to us. It's just happening. Yeah. The real place of happiness is on the inside.
There's just a lot of great things around us. And if we look for the great things during the bad things, it's amazing how easy it is to put these bad things into perspective, and sometimes they're really not that bad. Right. You know, I talked about my car blowing up and then hitting the deer. Mm-hmm. I can tell you from those two situations alone, probably 40, 45 different stories of wonderful experiences that happened to me, with me, for me, based only on those two incidences. And you know, what happens though is people focus on those two incidences and forget to look for all the positive around them that came out of those incidences. Yes, I still had to pay the $5,000. Yes, I still had to have my car towed. And, you know, after I hit the deer, yes, I had to sit in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night with no lights with my grandson. Oh, well, we had a good time. We laughed. We enjoyed each other's company. But we forget all of the good things because we're so focused on the bad, and that which we focus on expands. If you're focused on the bad, your subconscious mind is bound and determined to prove you're right. If you think things are bad around you, your subconscious mind will go out and search for things to prove you right. If you're focusing on and looking at the good things around you, your subconscious mind will go and start scouring and scanning for all of the good things around you to prove that you're right. Our subconscious mind is very protective of us and wants us to always be right. So we have to choose which right do we want to be.
I love that. It's a choice we have. Yeah. Our superpower. Oh, Karen, this is
the superpower.
It is, yeah. And, you know, we're always asking for that superhero to come in, but we are the superhero. We're the one with the power.
Well, and, you know, I was telling you about my home study kit for living first class. It's also that's one of the things I teach. And the first thing people think is, oh, she's going to teach me how to have lots of money. No, I mean, you could if that's what it is you're looking for, but first class means happiness. What is it that brings you joy and happiness? And, find your core values. Find what it is. Are you living in alignment with your core values, or are you living in alignment with what you were told you were supposed to do at this stage in life? Right. Are you caught up in, oh, I'm stuck, I can't get out, or are you saying, this is what I want and I'm working toward it? So, that all goes into that first class. First class is waking up every morning excited that you get to experience another wonderful, glorious day. Even if something bad happens, the day is still wonderful and glorious because you woke up and you're there to inspire the world and to be a part of the things that make the world a beautiful place. And, one of my favorite mentors said, life is not about weathering the storm. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. Yes. And that's what gratitude does, is it teaches us how to dance in the rain until the storm passes, and to appreciate that it's raining, and rain waters the fields and brings us food and moisture and water.
We have to have it.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. This has been so amazing. I can't believe that our time is up today. And I definitely want to have you back on again in the future, because this was just so needed, such a needed conversation. And I really do appreciate all of your perseverance in working through with the technology problems. Thank you for doing that.
I'm excited we have those problems, though, seriously, because you show the grace and the attitude of gratitude, because a lot of people would have gotten frustrated and just said, okay, we're not having a show today, guys, too many technical issues. But you went, oh, we'll just fix them the best we can. So people see that life happens and that you keep going. And you are an example, and a wonderful example of that. So thank you for sharing that example with me and letting me live through that with you.
Absolutely. Karen, how can people find you? How can they reach out to you and get more of the wonderful you?
It is so easy. They go to drkarenperkins.com, and it's drkarenperkins.com, but if they happen to spell out the whole word doctor, it'll still take them to me. But drkarenperkins.com. If they want to email me, it's just Karen at drkarenperkins.com. And but go to the site. I've got things on the site always. We switch out little giveaways and got quizzes to find out what personality style you have in a fun way, and all kinds of good stuff.
That sounds fun. I want to do that.
Come take the quiz. My personalities are done in animals, and they're different than others. Dr. Tony Alessandra, the great god of disc, asked if he could use my animals when he's teaching disc. So we've got a fun quiz, 2 questions under 2 minutes. You'll know exactly what animal you are, and we'll be able to identify the animal of the person you're dealing with.
Okay, well, I'm going to take that quiz, and I'll let you know what animal I am.
Yay!
Oh, thank you so much, Karen, for being with us today. I have just loved this, and I love you. You're amazing. You're wonderful. You're beautiful. And let's definitely schedule again in the future for you to come back and share some more information with us, because there's so much to you. And I know that it's blessed me, and I want it to bless others as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And you are a delight, and you are an inspiration to everyone around you. So I will talk to you again soon.
All right, darling. Thank you. And to all of you out there, stay with Enlightened World Network. We're still going with other programs today. And I know Robert Pangley will be on at 7 o'clock. And then I'll be back at 9 o'clock tonight to chant for change. So bye, everybody. Love you so much. And I'll see you again on Gratitude Happy Hour on Thursday at 5 o'clock. Bye, everybody. Bye, Karen. Thank you again. And thank you to your husband for Friday.
Yeah.
Bye.